What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades. Today's blade, yet another budget offering from Ganzo Firebird. What we're going to talk about today is the F7611-CF. This is the 761 series. This particular one in carbon fiber G10 laminate is one of the newer original designs from Ganzo Firebird. This is something that both Ganzo protractors and Ganzo fans have been asking for. Ganzo is fairly well known to, let's just say, borrow design inspiration from previous successful existing product that's already on the market. But there is very recently, in the last quarter of this year, 2017, there have been 3 new designs from Ganzo that are original designs. First, you had the 760 model, the FB760, which was their first bearing pivot axis lock G-lock folder. Then you had this model, and then you had the F755 series, the new fold-in cleaver. And I'm very, very happy as a fan of Ganzo and their budget knives. I'm very happy to see Ganzo going in the direction that they are going right now. There's some things that I would have done differently, but you cannot argue with original designs, guys. Especially at the average of $20 price point that you're paying for Ganzo. All right. Now, another thing I want to mention about this, the model that came out before this, the 760 model, I have had on order from GearBest for over a month. And because I don't like to wait a month and a half for knives when I order them and pay for them, I'm going to back away from purchasing from GearBest. Nothing against GearBest at all. I've had good service out of them and good pricing. But I just don't want to wait that long. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start turning towards Power Cutlery, and that is where I bought this knife. And Power Cutlery is a U.S. seller of Ganzo Firebird. They're out of California on the West Coast. I bought this knife, had it shipped. I had it in 3 days in East Tennessee, and I was much more satisfied with that time frame. Now, there's no difference in the knife quality or anything like that. It's just a Ganzo product. But I am recommending Power Cutlery now. If you want to get your Ganzo and get it faster, you don't want to pay an exorbitant amount for it. They're standard prices basically, and they have flat rate shipping. I think it's $2.90 or $2.99. And so for this model I paid $23, where from GearBest I would have paid maybe, depending on whether it is on sale or not, between $18 and $20. So not too bad, not too much of a premium to get it in 3 days, guys. You got to remember, we're not talking about $200 knives. It's a $20 knife. So $23 shipped is not that bad. I'm going to set this down real quick, and we'll take a look at it, and let's see if we can get some light on that thing, make that carbon fiber pop. And we will go ahead and knock the specs out. This is it looks much bigger than it is because it's a fairly wide profile, but it is actually a very compact knife. Very much EDC size. Now you've got a 3 3/8 inch blade length. It's about 87 millimeters. The blade stock thickness was 127 thousandths or 3.25 millimeters. The blade width, 1.24 inches or 31.6 millimeters. The handle length, 4 5/8 inches, or 11.5 centimeters. The handle thickness, 507 thousandths of an inch, or 12.8 millimeters. The handle width at the widest up at the pivot was 1.36 inches, or 34.5 millimeters. The closed width, 1.55 inches, or 39.5 millimeters. Overall length, right at 8 inches, or 20 centimeters. The stop pin diameter, 154 thousandths of an inch, or 3.92 millimeters. Behind the edge on this, now I have resharpened this knife already, and because I wanted to show you guys something about the knife in the review, so I went ahead and resharpened it. I changed the edge profile just a little bit, not radically. It was about 25 thousandths behind the edge before, and now it's 22 thousandths behind the edge. This knife has an excellent handle to blade ratio of 0.73, and the weight, 4.37 ounces, or 124 grams. All right, now we'll knock out this packaging real quick, and this is standard Ganzo packaging for their Firebird line, Ganzo Firebird. Here, let's take a look at this label first. There is your model, F7611-CF, and it comes in their standard box for their newer F-Series models. Slide out tray. You've got the microfiber pouch that is pretty much exactly like what you get with a Benchmade, but it has the Firebird branding on it in red. The knife comes in a little bubble wrap bag here, and then the pouch will be wrapped around it, and that's pretty much how all the F-Series models ship. It's a sort of a waxy, finished, nice fill-in box. I would consider that to be fairly premium packaging for a $20 knife. Packaging aside, though, what we're going to talk about is the knife. Now let's talk about materials first, and we will start in the blade. And guys, I want to apologize for my lighting. I have been trying to work on this. My lighting is much too direct under my new setup, and I'm going to have to rig some sort of diffusion to knock this off of it. That'll be coming, I promise. You've got a blade in the now pretty much standard Ganzo Firebird 440C stainless. Of course, 440C, a couple of 2 or 3 decades ago, was considered the premium stainless steel. It is a fairly high carbon, 0.95 to 1.2% carbon, high chromium, 16 to 18% chromium. It has decent edge retention, good toughness, and good corrosion resistance. It is, in my opinion, one of the better budget stainless steels out there. And I only say budget because you find it on budget knives. It's a cheaper steel now, since it's a few decades old in the knife world, really. It's not a bad steel at all. You're going to see it often compared to HCR, AUS 8, those types of steels, and then give or take, depending on how their heat treat is. I think that 440C and AUS 8 are the better steels out of those, with HCR coming in third. It's a decent budget steel, decent edge retention, good corrosion resistant, good toughness, fairly easy to sharpen. Not a bad steel at all in a $20 knife. All right, on to the handle. Just like all of the Ganzo carbon fiber models, this is a single layer carbon fiber over G10 laminate. You can see the carbon fiber here, and then I'm going to get close where it's milled right here. You can see the G10. It gives you the look of carbon fiber, the lower cost of the G10 laminate. It does have a slick surface on it, so if you are very sensitive to that type of surface, you're working in a wet environment, you may want to opt for the G10 versions of this knife. All right, that G10 carbon fiber laminate is over stainless liners. As on all of the new Ganzos, for the most part, you can see both sides, those liners are milled for weight relief. All the hardware is stainless steel. Everything, it has that blue finish on it except for the Axis/G-lock system here. And then the liners themselves are in a satin finish. You've got a stainless pocket clip here that is in a polished finish. So pretty standard fare for Ganzo. Basically what this knife is the same in every iteration except for the handle scales. All right, let's go into the fit and finish on this knife, because there's some things that I want to talk about there. Now, I've seen a lot of people talk about the newer Ganzos, and this is what I hear a lot, fairly often. Ganzo quality is really, it's been stepped up. It just seems to get better and better. And unfortunately, I disagree with that. I don't really think that their quality is getting better and better. Now, I've had about 10 Ganzos go through my hands over the last year, carbon fiber models and G10 models, multiple different models. And every one of them has had some little issue with it. Now, that said, every one of them, the issue was totally acceptable in a $20 knife for the most part, and not a big deal. They're very often just very small finish issues. So I think that Ganzo, what I'm saying is, Ganzo is still a very good quality made knife for the price point, but I don't think they're getting any better. I just think that they're staying the same. They're giving us the same good product. And I'm going to show you on this knife, it is 90% great and 10%, like 8%, and then there's about 2% of there's something wrong. We will start in the blade. Get that box back out of the way. I'm going to say this. My love of this blade profile aside, Ganzo in this example did a very good job on this blade. The grinds are pretty doggone even on it, and that's something that is you don't see often in the $20 knives. The grinds will be off just a little bit, and this is why I sharpened this knife before I did the review. I wanted to show you guys, once I put this on the KME and put an edge on it, how the edge turned out. That tells you a lot about how the grinds on a knife is. And mostly in the primary grind here. If your primary grind is off side to side, once you set up your knife in your sharpener, your edge will be off side to side. And I want you to look at this. Now, not bragging about my edge ability or anything, but just look at how even the edge is from tip to termination. You don't see, there is a slight from the distill taper forward towards the tip. There is a very slight widening of this edge on the show side. And then, of course, at the termination end right here, because the sharpening choil does not come out past the plunge, you've got some flare there. On the back side, it is just as even and maybe slightly more even towards the tip. The distill taper was done just a little bit better on the back. But overall, these satin blades are tough, my guys. Overall, the edge is very well done. That is a great indicator of how well the grinds are done. The swedge grinds are fairly even on this. The finish looks good on it, and it's satin. It's going to get fingerprints on it. I apologize for that, guys. But the finish from side to side is even on it. You do have a length of jimping on the back of the blade here, and you can see there is a slight ramping coming up out of the handle profile. The jimping is typical Ganzo Firebird jimping. It is useful, but it's not super useful. It's pretty rounded over and soft, guys. But you do have this slight ramping here, and you do have a good section of jimping without it being, just jimping all over the place and too much. All right. Your thumb studs on this are the blue anode or blue finished, whatever it is. It's very deep and very even on the thumb studs. They actually look really good. Going into the handle here, again, blued hardware on the handle. It is deep and evenly finished. It matches the thumb studs well. That was an issue initially when Ganzo started doing this blue hardware, but they're doing a little bit better on that. Not perfect, but a little bit better. Of course, the fit and finish on the handle scales is fine. The machining on it is fine. Mine did come. There's a little scratch here you can see at the tip of my thumb. It's just sort of it's not even a nail catch. It's sort of just a scuff mark. And I've seen that their carbon fiber models come with a lot of those little scuffs. And it's probably just because of how the surface finish is. It just shows those scuffs a lot more. Let's see, the fit of the handle scales to the liners is good. That is one of the best things that Ganzo does in their manufacturing, in their fit and finish. I mean, look at that, guys. Between the handle scales, the liners, and the backspacer, which is also G10. I forgot to mention that, guys. It's just very, very good. That is where Ganzo stands out in their knives. All right. Now, one problem in the handle fit and finish, and it's not with the handle itself, it's in the pocket clip, and not with the pocket clip itself, but in the screws. Look at those screws, guys. Now look at these 3 screws here compared to the rest of the screws on this knife. Okay, they are barely finished. This one here is the darkest, but you can see the recess is not finished at all. This one, the center one, has barely any finish on one side of it, and the rest is just silver. And then this one is very light too, not finished down into the recess. Terrible finishing on those screws. I would not have even put those screws on this knife. It's not that the finish on them is bad that's disappointing, because it's a $20 knife. What's disappointing to me is that somebody actually put those screws in there. I would not, if I was sitting in a factory and all I did was put this pocket clip on, I would have set those screws aside. I would not have put them on that knife. It just seems a shame that every little thing about the knife as far as fit and finish is really fantastic. Except for that. I mean, that is just a shame, guys. Doesn't affect the usability, the longevity, or anything of this knife. And I'm not going to, I'm not going to bash, Ganzo for it too much. This could have been made on a Friday, or it could have been put together on a Monday, and everybody's mind is totally not on their work on those days. It could have been, hey, we need to use these screws up. Let's just get them out of here. It's a $20 knife. But other than that, great fit and finish. I love their pocket clip. This pocket clip is basically a modified version of a pocket clip on a Spyderco. It works just as well here as it does there. Of course, it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty much just a copy. It's just a fantastic working pocket clip. All right, let's go on to action. This knife was a surprise to everybody. It doesn't matter who you watch on this knife, whether it's Patty's Potato Peelers, whether it's Love Them Knives, or anybody else. Everybody, when they saw this knife, was really excited until they found out it was not on the new bearing pivot. The previous model, the 760 model, came out on the bearing pivot. This one is an original design. It goes back to the washer pivot with the hybrid washers, phosphor bronze on one side and nylon on the other side, the white nylon washer. The action is smooth. It is, of course, it's not, you know, drop smooth. You got to give it a little bit, but it is pretty doggone smooth. I will say the springs, the Omega springs on the Axis / G-Lock are a little bit lighter than the other examples that I've gotten. Not a lot lighter, but a little bit lighter. It's easy to manipulate one side. It is. It's, you know, it's not bad at all, guys. Let's see. So, you know, the action opening and close is very smooth, although there is some friction there that, you know, you get from washers. The lockup on it, no issue there. The lockup on the Ganzo G-Lock Axis lock is always really good. In my example, the centering is perfect, guys. It is the best centered Ganzo that I've ever gotten. I have not touched the pivot on this knife. Overall, even though I wish it would have come out with the bearing pivot, I cannot fault the action on this knife. It is probably, overall, as far as action goes, the best Ganzo Firebird that I've gotten with this standard hybrid washer system. All right, let's go into ergos. Usability on this blade profile. This is a wider blade profile with a flat, high grind. It does give a fairly thin edge. It is pointy. Okay, you can see I've resharpened here, and it has no issue at all catching skin, and it didn't have any issue with factory edge either. It's a pretty slicey knife, but this is a very aggressive, to me, a very aggressive looking blade profile that I really, really like. If you are the kind of person that carries a knife for potential martial use, offensive or defensive use, this little knife would be fantastic. It would be quite the slasher, guys. It is very comfortable in the hand. It has a very aggressive blade profile. You've got a very aggressive, sharp belly section here. And then it thins up towards the width of the blade, thins up towards the tip. You can see, while not, you know, not fragile, it does have a fairly thin tip. You know, it gives you plenty of cutting edge. You know, it's just an overall very utilitarian blade in a wide blade profile. Ergonomics on the handle is one of the areas where this knife shines, guys. This is a fantastic handle design. And as compact as the handle design is, it's very comfortable. It is compact, guys. This knife is not as big as you think it is. This is the fit in my medium-sized hands. Now I'm going to bring another knife in here real quick. We're going to bring the Paramilitary 2 in here, which is a standard in EDC. You can see the Paramilitary 2, let me see if I can get this, guys. The Paramilitary 2 is actually a little bit bigger than this knife in the handle length. In the blade length, they are pretty much exactly the same, but the Ganzo gives you about 1/8 of an inch more of cutting surface length. So the actual handle to blade profile on this knife is better than the PM2. Now we're going to close this up and we'll look, you know, as far as it being a wide profile, it does look a lot wider, and that's because it's wide for more of the length of the knife. But if you put these knives together, let's see if I can get this lined up just looking through the camera, guys, you're going to see, okay, this is not any wider. Okay, you just got this one little section right here on the drop of the blade right here. that's a little bit wide, but overall, actually the PM2 is wider at the spotty hole, and then you can see it is at least 1/8 of an inch longer in handle length. So as big as this knife looks on paper, it actually is pretty doggone compact and easy to carry. I'm very, very happy with that. Excellent ergos. Love this handle design. You've got the drop here that fits the curvature of your hand. You've got a nice wide open finger choil here, an open center section of the handle. Not really a bird's beak, but this curve continues down to the tip here. This back spacer that's in their sort of standard geared profile. It goes all the way around the butt end. I think you could actually do some light striking with this in a defensive or offensive role. You know, in my hand, everything just comes together. In an actual fighting grip that I would use with this knife, my thumb would come forward to this slight recess and would turn this knife into a Michael Janich approved slashing machine. Somebody comes at you and you go towards their joints with this knife, you are going to easily sever tendons and ligaments and muscle to incapacitate somebody that is attacking you. I very much love this design. It's a great design by Ganzo Firebird with a great crossover capability from utility to a martial type of use. It is pretty doggone compact for the width. It's comfortable to carry. The fit and finish is good except for that one screw issue. The grinds on the blades are good. Overall, guys, I'm really, really liking this little knife. And I'm going to recommend the 7611, whether you get it in the G10 versions or the carbon fiber versions. I think they've done a good job on this. Is it better than Ganzo has been before? No, not really. All of my carbon fiber models have been the same level of quality. You know, in instance on this one, you've even got 3 screws on it that have wanky finish on them. So the quality I don't think is really getting better. It's just holding firm, but we're getting better designs, guys. This is a fabulous design. It's not borrowing from any other pre-existing design. That's something we've been begging Ganzo Firebird for, and they are delivering in these new models. So I'm going to recommend this one. As always, I thank you for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.